Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful night. I just wanted to read in a couple spots and show you a couple things. You probably never read the Bible like this or seen it read like this, but in certain spots, instead of God, I'll replace it with I am. And instead of Jesus Christ, I replace it with the Holy Spirit. And I do that for a specific reason. So follow along if you like this. Cool. If not, if it's not for you, I am no fascist. You know what I mean? Do your thing. The prologue of the Holy Spirit. In the beginning, I already existed. I was with who I am. I was who I am. I existed in the beginning with who I am. I created everything through me, and nothing was created except through who I am. I gave life to everything that was created, and my life brought light to everyone. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. I sent the man John the Baptist to tell about the light so that everyone might believe because of his testimony. John or Yohanan themselves were not the light. They were simply witnesses to tell about the light. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. I will be. I came into the world. I created, but the world didn't recognize me. I came to my own people, but even they rejected me. But to all who believed me and accepted me, I gave the right to become children of mine. They are reborn, not with the physical birth resulting in human passion or plan, sex, but a birth that comes from who I am. So I became human and made my home among us. I was full of unfailing love and faithfulness, and we have seen the glory and the glory of who I am. I testified about him. I testified about who I am when I shouted to the crowds. This is the one I was talking about when I said someone is coming after me, who is far greater than I am, for I existed long before me. From my abundance, we have all received one gracious blessing after another. For the law was given through Moses, but my unfailing love and faithfulness came through who I am, the Holy Spirit. No one has ever seen who I am, but the unique one, who himself is who I am, who is near to my heart. He has revealed who I am to us. This was John's testimony when the Jewish leaders and priests and temple assistants from Jerusalem to ask John, "Who are you?" He came right out and said, "I'm not the Messiah." "Well then, who are you?" they asked. "Are you Elijah?" "No," I replied. "Are you a prophet?" "No." "Then who are you?" "Flesh meat." "We need an answer for those who sent us. What do you have to say about yourself?" I'll reply in the words of the prophet. "I'm a voice shouting out in the wilderness. Make way for my coming." Then the Pharisees who had been sent asked him, "If you aren't the Messiah or Elijah or the prophet, what right do you have to baptize?" And I told them, "I baptize you with water, but right here in the crowd is someone you don't recognize, and you all still don't. Though the ministry follows mine, I'm not even worthy to be his slave and untie the straps of his sandal." This encounter took place in Bethany, an area east of the Jordan River, where John was baptizing. The Lamb of mine. The next day, watch this, and I'll testify on my behalf. The next day, I saw the Holy Spirit coming towards me like a meteor. Look, the Lamb who takes away the sin of the flesh. The one who sits back and talks to us constantly. Here I am, over and over and over. And day in and day out, I am rebuked. I am forsaken. I am ignored. I speak and cry from the wilderness. I speak and cry from the flesh. So I will show you something from what's left. In the beginning, I created the heart and the flesh. The flesh was formless and empty, and darkness covered the peoples. And the spirit of who I am was hovering over the surface of the peoples. Then I said, let a part of me be known. And I saw that it was good. And then I separated the people from who I am from the people from who I am not. Then I called the people who I am day, and the people who I am not night. And everything passed, and the morning came, marking the first day. Then I said, let there be a space between these people, to separate the people in the heart and the people of the flesh. And that is what happened. I made the space separate from the people from the flesh and the people from the heart. And I called this space sky. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the second day. Then I had said, let the people beneath the sky float together in one place, so that I could set a place apart for people that I raise up to walk the flesh. And that is what has happened. I called the dry ground land, and the waters peoples. I called the dry ground people set apart, and the waters peoples. And I saw that it was good. And I said, let the land sprout up with every sort of seed-bearing plant and trees to grow, religions and food, books, knowledge. And these seeds, these books, will produce people that walk and sound just like the books. And they will let the books live inside, and then they will give the books life. And the flesh produce vegetation, all sorts of bearing plants, and trees with seed-bearing fruits. You know a seed by its fruit. Their seeds produce plants and trees of the same kind. And I saw that it was good. And evening passed, and the morning came, marking the third day. And then I said, let lights appear, Moses. And I showed my face, the shining sun. But mankind was not ready for my face. I am who I am. I am Simi. I am the one who freed you from the land of Egypt, from the bondage of slavery. You are to put no gods before who I am. You are not to make any idols in the heavens or earth or beneath the peoples, in the heart, the flesh, or beneath the peoples. You are not to bow down to them or worship them, for I am jealous, and I will not take him guiltless who take my name in vain. You are not to take who I am in vain. Then I said, let lights appear. But then a man said unto himself, I will bring the light down and smash it in half. Interesting. I wonder what that stone was. Let lights appear in the sky to separate. Let lights appear in the heart to separate the people who are of I am and the people who are of I am not. And let them be signs to mark the seasons, the days, and the years. And let these lights in the heart shine down on the flesh. And that is what has happened. 7 angels in the Revelations. First you get a commandment, then the commandment gives you light, so then it plagues Pharaoh's kingdom. But let me take it even further. First you get the commandment, which is an angel. Then the angel pours out its vial on the flesh, and then it plagues Pharaoh's kingdom. But before that, it shouts out from the heart. And so I'll give you an example. If I give you the 10 commandments righteously, and I show you what the 7 laws are after the first 3, what happens is, first, they become the angels. They come out of the tabernacle of mine in the heart. And then what they do is they shout, thou shalt not do this, that, this, that, this, that. And after they shout, they plague the flesh, Pharaoh's kingdom, where the beast, the false prophet, live. You see, the problem with this book is that they have made everything literal, not letting anybody know that. At first, before you read this book, I am who I am. I am the living. I am the one that exists. Then I read this book, and because of what names are written on here, blasphemies against who I am, then I become subservient to a king or a master. But am I being kind to my Hebrew slave? And so then when the false god is knocked from the sky, it seeks to plague the flesh with the laws and its armies. You're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, sting, sting, sting. But I am who I am. Put nothing before who I am. And then those angels, the 7 angels, they watch over the flesh and plague Pharaoh once he's on the flesh, so to speak. Let these lights in the sky shine down to the flesh. And that is what happened. I made 2 great lights. The sun, the Holy Spirit, the light, which is constantly forsaken when the light goes down. And then the lesser light, the law afterwards, the moon. The 12 stars are the lights in the sky. So I am removing the moon, the law of Moses, and putting back the 12 lights in the sky, if that makes sense. The 12 sky, the 12 stars, the 12 angels. You'll know what that means at the end of this. There's actually 2 trees, but let me not get aside from myself. Let these lights in the sky shine down. And I made 2 great lights, one larger to cover in the day when who I am is here, and one for the night when I am not here, so to speak, to govern the day, and the smaller one to govern the night. I also made the stars, the 12 tribes. I sent these lights in the sky to light the flesh, and the heart to light the flesh, to govern when I am here, and to govern when I am not here. And so if the moon in the sky gets bloodied, there's still 12 stars in the sky to light the way, like the drinking gourd, and to separate the light from the darkness. And I saw that it was good. And the evening passed, and the morning came, marking the 4th day. Then I had said, let the water swarm, right? Then the dragon blew the waters that was formed at the peoples, or at the people set apart on the dry ground. And so then what happens? Once the dragon comes down, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. This is the law, that's the law, this. So the flesh opened up her mouth for the peoples that are set apart. And then we have the peoples that are protected in the wilderness, still giving us guidance, so to speak, if that makes sense. Let the skies be filled with the waters be swarmed with fish. So then after John the Baptist came, and then Peter and Paul came and gave the Gentiles the word, what happened? Beasts were running everywhere through the peoples, were they not? Go watch a documentary called 33 AD to Present Church History. Let the skies, let the hearts be filled with every bird of every kind. Let the people be filled with every fish of every life. So I created the great sea and the creatures of every living thing that scurries. So I created all the peoples and all the fish and the beasts that live amongst them and the water, and every sort of bird, each producing offspring of their kind. And I saw that it was good. Then I blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the seas, let the fish fill the peoples, and let the birds multiply on the flesh in their hearts. And the evening passed, and the morning came, marking the 5th day. Then I said, let the flesh produce every sort of animal. So once William Tyndale blew his trumpet, then you see what Martin Luther did afterwards and brought Protestantism and destroyed the world. Each producing offspring of the same kind, livestock, same animals that scurry along, all the flesh, all wild animals, and that is what has happened. And I made all sorts of wild animals and livestock and small animals, each able to produce offspring of their own kind. And I saw that it was good. And how many beasts are running throughout the flesh? Are they not? I said, let us make human beings. So then when Martin Luther King came and said, I have a dream, then what happened? Kasplash. And our image to be like us. And they will reign over the wild beasts amongst the people, and the birds in the hearts, and the livestock, and the wild animals on the flesh, and all small animals. So what do everybody say? What does Martin Luther King say? What about all people, right? my precious, beautiful people. So I created human beings in my own image. In the image of who I am, I created them. Male and female, I created them. So will you call this flesh, blood a liar? But he is speaking on behalf of the spirit, someone else, sacrificing who he is because he knows he'll be ridiculed, knows he'll be destroyed. I am seeing videos of people talking about the Nephilim walk, 450,000 views. The gods on the earth are walking, 4.5 million views. But if the Roman great emperor Jesus, ancient hidden secrets, 10.5 million views. But if I come in the name of who I am, we were once who I am, but you don't understand when I say that. You still think I am building a tower of Gehenna's flesh blood. So those with the ear, listen to what the Spirit is saying. I blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. So if I said all things are good, why am I killing all the things that I created, if that makes sense? He with an ear, listen. And so you still think I am talking about these concepts. I'm talking about each other, people. We are being manipulated and constricted, and I'm going to show you how. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the flesh and govern it, reign over the wild beasts amongst the peoples. And I said, I have given you every type of nutrients and every type of knowledge that there is for the trees of your food. And I've given you every type of green food that there is, all type of knowledge everywhere for the wild beasts and the birds in the hearts and the beasts in the hearts and small animals that scurry amongst the ground. Everything that has life, that is what happened. And I looked over all that I had made, and I saw that it was very good. Then evening passed and morning came, marking the sixth day. So, who is the serpent? The serpent to me, to who I am, the serpent is opposition, division, constriction. If I am creating that which is good, then what the serpent does is gets me to worship him. In order for him to do that, he has to appear to be lights, but really be darkness. So if the 10 Commandments say put nothing before who I am, soon as I put a God in your head and put that on the 10 Commandments, that's destruction. If that God has a son leading me to that pagan name, then that is the false prophet. If there is an intermediary that first brought that foolishness, we'll say Moses, that is the beast. The Pharaoh, Moses, and Jesus are the Satan, the beast, and the false prophets. It blasphemes who I am. So the creations of the heart and the flesh and everything in them was completed. And I'm going to explain the flaming sword at the end of this. On the seventh day, I have finished all my work of creation and rested from all my work. And I blessed the seventh day. So you all notice how people keep saying these things are a foreshadow of things to come, because a lot of things are spiritual. And so when you say these things, this is an entire book. You guys keep saying the Old Testament. You guys are reading lines. I am reading lines of code, and living them out, because it is perpetuated from the beginning over and over and over. Go read Proverbs and go read the stuff Solomon wrote with 800 wives, all these different teachings and churches and peoples, and understand what I'm telling you, edify with I am, or spirit of mind, or spirit of who I am in first person. Because that's how we lose ourselves in these books and these religions. And it is perpetuated through men. And I'm going to explain something. So I had rested from all the work, and I blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because it was the day when I rested from all the work of creation. And so if I am a spirit, and the first 3 stars are my spirit, I am who I am, put nothing before who I am, put no gods before who I am, take not who I am in vain, no idols, bow down to nothing. Who is that? Who lives like that? And if we're made in that image, that's us. So the first 3 stars are who I am, my sacred law, and then the other 7 are the other lights of creation, if that makes sense, the other days of creation. Stop, both of yous. Knock it off. Flash for Columbo, get away from Dracula. Okay, sorry about that. I have cats. So, after you get the righteous law, the 10 commandments, then you're free. The reason I put the 2 trees at the end of the stream is because if you are in the wilderness, listen to what I am saying. Let me be the sun, so to speak. Because I dare not transgress who I am, because I dare not forsake myself, if that makes sense. And we are all one. But are we all the same? No. I am simply saying that the spirit of the heart is on the inside. The kingdom of the heart is on the inside. The revelation of this book, everything, has been bloodied and mistranslated. It's all about the inside. You're not supposed to take your stones and throw them at people. They keep making videos about the Nephilim are about to walk. I am who I am. I am no Nephilim. Stop giving yourself names. And if you do give a name, don't let that be your soul. I'm telling you what you're doing when you do this. The man and woman in Eden. So no, am I saying taking away physical names? No. I am Juan E. Hannon. People have names. You know what I'm talking about. He with an ear, let the spirit hear what I am saying. The Lord God, Jesus, Allah, Hashem. The 3. When I have made the flesh and the heart, neither wild plants nor grains were growing on it. So when you're first born, what do you know? Nothing. You're taught by who? Man, mom and dad. For I had not yet sent nourishment to water the flesh. So just so you guys know, I've said before, oceans and stuff are salt water. Oceans and stuff are people. Rivers, springs are nourishment. I had not yet sent nourishment to the flesh, for there was no people to cultivate the soil. People set apart, because if it's not the oceans, it's people that's walking on dry land set apart. Instead, springs came up from the ground, instincts, and watered the land. Then I had formed a man, a prophet from the flesh. I breathed the breath of life into the prophet's nostrils, and the prophet became a living person. Then I had planted a garden in the heart, and there I had placed a man that I made, the prophet. And I made all sorts of trees to grow up from the ground. So I would say a prophet then went and wrote a book or something like that, whatever, created a garden. So we'll say you can either, if the heavens is the heart and the mind and all that, we'll say the garden is a book or an area where people learned and grew. Twofold book, you could say it's Egypt. And you guys are cursing a lot of what your forefathers were. This all, I'm telling you, based on the language and a lot of stuff, I think this is Egyptian. But am I saying Egypt is evil? When I say Pharaoh, I'm talking about kings ruling over the flesh. Trees or shade. So if you're looking at trees, where trees is like shade, that were beautiful and produced delicious fruits. So what produces fruits? Books or teachings. In the middle of the garden or the book, I placed a tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So what's in the middle of this book but the Exodus? A river flowed from the land of the book, or Eden, watering the garden and then dividing it into 4 branches. I got 4 stones at the end. I'm saying I do stuff and then it comes back and it's like, whoa. Then the first branch, called Pishon, flowed around the entire land of Havilah. So if you're a Bible scholar and you see certain things and the Spirit is talking to you, I'm showing you, if you see like a river of Havilah or Pishon somewhere in this book, and then it's saying a certain prophet or somebody was drinking of this river or something, these are signs telling you to let the Spirit, let me be the dead letter. The gold of, there's nothing dead about who I am, brother. Ignore the gold of that land is exceptionally pure. Aromatic resin and onyx stone, also pure, found there. The second branch, called the Gihon, flowed around the entire land of Cush. The third branch was called the Tigris. So I think these are like African and Middle. So when you guys say Middle East, it kind of frustrates me because what you'll do is you'll take Asia and you'll wrap it all the way to Africa and call it Western Asia. But then right there in Africa where Egypt is, you'll say that's north. That's north. That ain't Africa. That's Western Mesopotamia, Iraq, Middle Eastern. You see what you're doing? It's Africa and Asia, and they're connected. And so it's that racist, was where neo-racism, neo-Nazi stuff, which something interesting. So if you go and look at the Greek flag, and I read somewhere that the word Holocaust in Greek means burnt offering. And if you go look at the Jewish flag, go look up Israel flag, and then look up the flag of Greece, and then look up Theos and then theology, and then all of these so-called people from Germany just branched out, and all of a sudden there's like this same institution is reliving over and over again, if you know what I mean. It's like kind of strange, right? So is that a conspiracy? How do they have the same flag? I told you Grecian. So watch this. I want to show you guys something interesting. The three sons, if you notice, Judah had 5 sons, but technically he had 4 sons. And I'm going to explain something. The first son Judah had was the wicked one who was slain, right? I will call him Persia. Babylonian. Jews, right? What's written all in this book. Babylon's bad, Babylon's bad. Nimrod's bad. So then, and if you pay attention, Nimrod was a mighty hunter on the flesh before who I am, before I came. You see what I'm saying? And he's hunting these wicked men on earth. I think what Shem and Japheth did really lived out. I think people took stories and then, because the Noah story is a Mesopotamian story. I think Noah got drunk, started something, and then Shem and Japheth later in civilization came and covered it up. So from what I was saying, if you pay attention to what's really happening, I think a lot of these heroes are actually villains. And a lot of these villains are heroes in certain situations and locations. So the 3 sons of Judah and Tamar, I will say the first son of Judah is Babylonian Judaism. You notice there was 4 nations that took over Judah. Then the second son who spilled the seed was Persia. Remember, they was cool at first, but then they went and destroyed and started acting crazy and putting pagan idols and stuff. So then Greece, right? If you look up the Greek flag and the flag of Israel, what is it? It's the same flag almost, but one has a cross and one has a star. So then Judah was like, nope, I'm not losing my last son. Judaism. It lived out. So then he had 2 twins with a Canaanite woman. So John was fighting the Catholics or the Romans, and I am fighting the Protestants and the Anglo-Saxons. And it is written that I will come back later. These prophecies are either living out because mankind is reading these words and are being manipulated and corrupted by the Anglo-Saxon, German, and Protestant churches. So Europe, France, you go watch a time lapse of superpowers and or kingdoms of Europe from 0 to 2000 AD, and you will see what Rome, France, Germany, and England has done to the world. They keep talking about the Mongols. Go look up the Romans and the Germans and the French and their histories. So then the 2 twins came out. One had a scarlet ribbon and was to sacrifice the lamb. The other will come back like fire. It's interesting, right? The 4th branch is called the Euphrates, which just dried up out of rage once they killed the angel. So I would say what happened to Martin Luther King was tragic, man. And just as they kill the actual angels that I named, they're killing each commandment at a time and not respecting them, because the first 3 are knocked out of the sky, and the new God, the 8th beast, the 8th commandment, tells them what to do. I placed the prophet in the book to tend and watch over it, but I warned them, you may freely eat of every fruit in the tree of the garden, except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So then what did this prophet do in the middle? Good, good, evil, evil, good, evil. So like I said to you, anybody that has murdered, good and evil, done any of this stuff, what kingdom are they of and what are they perpetuating? And whose children are they? If you eat of its fruit, you will surely die. And so what are you dying to? You're dying to who I am. I created the heavens and earth. But then the serpent slithers in and teaches me things. And then what I am doing becomes evil. The lights aren't to tell you you're evil. They're so that you can see. My way is light. Why do you think that is? How does 12 commandments turn to 10 and then 613? Does that make sense? Then I said, it's not good for the prophet to be alone, so I'll make a helper who is just right for him. So I formed from the ground all the wild animals, all the different teachings and all the different spirits that exist in the heart and on the flesh. And I brought them to the man to see what he would call, to see what I would call them. And the man chose a name for each one. He gave names to all the livestock and all the birds in the heart, all the spirits on the flesh and all the spirits in the heart, and all of them, all the spirits. But still there was no helper just right. So I caused the man to fall in a deep sleep. So now, right, the prophet dies. And while the man slept, I took out of the man's ribs and closed the opening. So now I built up a wife from the man, another man being possessed by the man, and closed up the opening. Then I made a woman from the rib, and he brought her to the man. So you read a bunch of man's words, just like I said, whether you're a man or a woman, and then you are filled with that man's spirit. That man then possesses you. You guys are probably wondering, oh, blah, blah, what's going on? This is ancient Egyptian stuff. I keep telling you all this. And he brought her to the man at last. People keep saying, why does effeminateness keep happening? And why do people and women keep becoming so powerful? Because you're putting the spirit of God, right, a pagan God, into women and making them super powerful with all these different men's words. And then you're putting an effeminate women, the passive aggressiveness, do this, do this, do this, and men, and teaching them to become effeminate. The women, you guys. Then I made a woman, a professor, right? When I say professor, I don't mean somebody teaching in a classroom. Then I brought somebody to bear witness on behalf of the prophet. At last, the man explained, this one is from my bone and flesh of my flesh. So she will be called woman. So all of you that just keep professing all this law and then cursing in the name of Jesus or all these other men, I keep telling you, you're a woman. Then when you have a million men because you put it all in one book, you become Babylon. You become Eve's great granddaughter. This explains why a prophet leaves who I am and the flesh and is joined with his new flesh, if that makes sense. The two are united as one. That's why it says the bride and the revelation. Now the man, so I'm gonna tell y'all something. Every single person that read this book or reads this book has committed adultery and doesn't realize it. You all break the law not knowing you're breaking the law because the first 3 stars keep getting knocked out of the sky. I'm telling you all. I created the heavens and earth. I created the heart and the flesh. Scientists can't argue with me with this. Physicists can't argue with me with this. They can say the mom and dad did it. Okay. You still aren't arguing with me because after I come out of the mom and dad, then what happens? I create all things, spiritually and physically. I grow. My cells multiply. My consciousness understands and learns and grows. The flesh is the wife. The spirit is the man. Sons of mine are the character or the new spirit you possess after I baptize you. Does that make sense? So you can learn from other men, but if you give them power to rule over who I am, then you become a slave to who they are. None of these men have been kind to their Hebrew slaves, and many men have walked on the mountain and been consumed with fire. Because my mercifulness has not arrived yet. John the Baptist. He keeps saying Christ, But they turned I am who I am into Jesus Christ. The Jewish sectors of the Pharisees and Sadducees, who called him a blasphemer for saying this name, gave him to the Romans, right? So they preached this word to the Gentiles. Then the Gentiles created paganism out of this. 33 AD to present church history. Watch the documentary. Now, who I am and the flesh were both naked and felt no shame. Instincts, doing whatever, living life, the tree of life. That is why I'm trying to tell you with every vain word, this book can corrupt you. That is foolish. Okay, if we were animals, that will be fine, but we are not. So we need to eat from the paradise of who I am. Who are we now in this day and age? We don't want people to litter on our land. We don't want people cheating on us. We don't want people lying on us. We don't want people stealing from us. We don't want people killing each other or us. We don't want people, we want a day off. We respect our mothers and fathers, I think. All those are spiritual laws. They've turned them literal because they're good ideas. So I'm going to show you something real quick. And when I do this, I am doing this for the sake of who I am. So I'm not seeking profit or gain from anything I do. Look at what I'm about to do. Thou shalt not kill or rape. So when I receive word or knowledge and I go up to somebody, right? The twofold book, double-edged. I'm not to stab anybody for real. Or you're going to burn in hell because you're not doing blah, 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 and stone them. You just killed somebody. Rape was taken out of the blessing, the book of Levi. Go read about what happened to the tribe of Levi. Thou shalt not rape. Because of thou shalt not covet. They went and killed a bunch of people because of how she was raped and treated and how they acted. Right? Or on the other hand, thou shalt not go and then try to go manipulate people and be a magician. Oh, I'm this and that and this and that, and my way is right and everybody else is evil and blah, blah, blah. You just raped their flesh and became their man god, so to speak. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not go and take from a bunch of books and then say your physical name did that. You are either giving to the glory of the name, the spirit I am, so that all can take from the trees and eat, or your institution will be destroyed. You're building towers like Babylon and building with the bricks concepts to the hearts. Covet not for thy neighbor's house. Oh, I want to be like John the Baptist. I want to be like Moses. I want to be like Peter. I want to be like Paul and take all their stuff. Or in real life, going and coveting after what other people have. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I am that which is. I am who I am. Yet, oh, maybe they know more than I. Maybe they know the alphabet. Maybe they know the afterlife. I'm going to explain. I said alphabet for a specific reason. The word. So I'm going to explain something to you. In mathematics, any number divided by 0 or 0 divided by any number, I believe that's how it goes, is undefined. Because you can't divide by nothingness. Now treat the afterlife like that. Treat things like you don't know like that in terms of things we can't prove. You know that none of these men know what happens to who I am when I am no longer. So stop giving into it. You're using your physical energy of what I am to give into what I am not. And so you were not before you got here. So why are you creating for when I am not again, for when you leave? And if you do create, let it be heaven from the heart, purity, love. You guys are creating afterlives of Nebuchadnezzar's box of destruction and building a tower of darkness. And the mountain is going to come down and destroy it, whether you're on your deathbed or throughout life, if that makes sense. So don't commit treat the, okay, I don't like saying this because then people I don't build on this. You can think of the flesh like the woman. I'm not saying men are women. I'm saying the flesh is like women and the spirit, what's on the inside, is like the man. It rules over the women and tells women what to do. You all are being manipulated by Pharaoh's kingdom from ancient words from a man that was corrupted from the times of kings and pharaohs and stuff like that. Egypt was beautiful at first. It was a garden. Same as the word, the Bible, not even the Bible, the word. It was beautiful at first, but then it became corrupt. What are we besides walking words? If you couldn't talk to yourself or think or any of those things, you use words to do that. Thou shalt honor thy father and mother. What gave birth to you besides your real father and mother? The spirit that's learning and growing, and the flesh that give birth to who I am. And so, yes, I have a brain and it thinks and does stuff. And yes, I have a body that goes along with the brain. But my personality, my character, honor both. Don't forsake the flesh. Don't blaspheme who I am. Does that make sense? Also, on the flip side, honor thy father and mother. And keep your day of rest holy. That can mean. So I'm going to tell you what that means to who I am in a couple of different ways. When it's time to go, it's time to go. You fight like Moses and you're going to destroy the world, if that makes sense. If whether you think of that and you become a super holy man and wanted to create all the stuff for the afterlife and then write it out, or when you're on your deathbed and screaming and hollering and crying because you didn't understand who I am and the balance of life. Abraham, Moses, and everybody else went back to the dirt from where we came. So will the prophets that run the flesh and then are removed by the fire, if that makes sense. Get behind me, if that makes sense. So, also on your days off, don't run around being holy magical preachers and freezing in the freezer. What they did with the Sabbath, they're stuck in the freezer on their days off when they're supposed to be having a good day off. Who I am not, the Pharaoh, was the shrewdest of all wild animals that I had made. One day I had asked the flesh, did I really say you must not eat from the fruit of any of the trees in the garden? Of course we may not eat of the fruit of the tree. We can eat of any fruit in the garden. But the flesh replied, it is only from the tree of the middle of the garden we're not allowed to eat. I said, the prophet, the one who was relaying the message from what the original said, the heart, the one who created the world, you must not eat of it or touch it. If you do, you will die. You won't die, who I am not replied, but he is saying, I know, because if my name is I am who I am, the serpent isn't saying God. He's saying I. It's myself telling myself to do things that I know are wrong. I know that your eyes will be opened as you eat it, and you will be like who I am, knowing both good and evil. So he's pretending to be the conscience. The flesh was convinced. She saw that the tree was beautiful and it looked delicious. So she's thirsting for wisdom, the body. So when I give a clear message and then men are like, oh, so that means this. I'm going to build on that. This is concrete. If you go against who I am, I'm going to burn you in hell. Is it starting to make sense? So she took some type of fruit and ate it. So Moses came from the mountain and said, don't mess with spirits, magicianship, and all these other things. But that was for his time period, for who I am. I do not see what was going on during that time period. But in my time period, I can see the different magicians and liars and soothsayers and whatnot. And so it makes sense. But I'm not going to stone a man. I'm going to live my life and try to do the best I can to be a light or a guide or an example. Then she took some of the fruit to eat of it. All right. So if I created the heavens and earth, now she's eating of other men's fruits. What does that sound like? Then she gave some to her husband. So when I give you all this stuff, I told you, I give you the 10. Don't just think I'm giving you the first 3 and be like, oh, I can do whatever I want. The reason I'm giving you the other 7 is because if you get the first 3, you're going to become like the dragon, knock the first 3 out the sky, and then give your own law. A lot of bullcrap. At that moment, their eyes were opened and they suddenly felt shame at their nakedness. So they were like, oh, I'm evil. This isn't right. That's not right. So they sewed fig leaves together to cover themselves. So no matter what you do, you read these books. I told you before who is doing any of this, who's creating this. The prophet blah, 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 blah said, the prophet blah, 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 blah said, the prophet blah, 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 blah said. So let me go ahead and take out of this tree, cover myself. And then when who I am comes, and says, why is this evil? I didn't say this was evil. Oh, the devil, the Satan, the serpent. So then I'm cursing myself with my sin from the Pope and the Protestants that perpetuate the beast, Babylon, Persia, Greek, and Rome. And Islam is not innocent of this. They have the 10 Commandments. and Babylonian Judaism, Jewish people that led to Greece that said, I just don't want to go, right? Judah, the third born, Shelah, and then from the Pharaoh, Egypt, and the 7 enemies like the Canaanites in the Old Testament who just keep building and building and building on top of fantasies and lies and putting it on who I am. When the cool evening breezes, I am the wind, were blowing, the prophet and the flesh heard who I am walking through the garden, and they hid from who I am amongst the trees. Then I called to the prophet, where are you? He replied, I heard you walking amongst the books, but I hid. I was afraid. I was naked. Who told you that you were naked? I asked. Have you eaten from the tree whose fruit I've commanded you not to eat? This is evil. That's evil. This is good. That's good. I'm going to build a tower to the sky. The prophet replied, this was the flesh you gave me to eat of the fruit, and I ate it. Then I said to the flesh, what have you done? So look, you notice how there's 3 now, the Trinity. Now there's who I am. There's the prophet and my flesh. But what else is there now when there was already the 3? Condemnation, evil, the fruits that make me stone myself first, become a beast, and then stone others. And then I profess to others and get them to do the same. Then I asked the flesh, what have you done? Who I am not deceived me. She replied, that's why I ate it. Does that even make sense, who I am not? So now she's blaming it on somebody else, the flesh. So now what do? We put in the book, the devil, God help. Germanic Gudon, Guthis, man of power, God of man of power of God. She replied, the flesh replied, that's why I ate it. So I said to who I am not, because you have done it. So now I am saying to who I am not. Does that make sense? I'm talking to myself and destroying myself. Condemnation. Let their children be their judges. Judge not that you be not judged. Yourself. Because people keep saying, why do people keep judging each other? Because we're all judging ourselves. We're all guilty of this. We all read the book. I'm sorry. Because you have done this, you are cursed, right? Who else was cursed? Ham. It's the condemnation. We'll keep cursing because somebody becomes a man, God, Messiah, and curses others and tells them that they're evil. More than all animals, more than all spirits, you will crawl on your belly, groveling at the flesh as long as you live. And I will cause hostility between you and the flesh. I better not do evil. I better not do evil to please the God that's on the inside, my man. And between your offspring and her offspring, between the prophet that leads you to who you are, that tells you that you're evil, right? It's a perpetual circle. First, I am who I am. Then my spirit becomes corrupt. That becomes the dragon. Then my flesh becomes the beast. And then the child that is produced is the false prophet. Between your offspring. So the thing that you create, right, between your spirit, the flesh, and what you produce. So now you're like Cain, the firstborn, and he will strike your head. Boom, boom, boom. You're telling evil, it's evil, it's evil. And the evil will strike your heel. Did I do enough to live up to God? Did I do enough to live up to who I am? Did I do right to who I am? Am I going to get to heaven? And then the serpent that's in the sky, you did evil. You're not getting into heaven. Look, no, the clouds are opening up. You false professed all your life. Heaven don't exist. It was all a lie. Not leading you to anything and mocking you at the end because the words told you to mock yourself. I will mock evil and calamity at its time of grieving. Then I said to my flesh, I will sharpen your pain and pregnancy. So what does the flesh do constantly? They try to deliver on the name of Jesus and God and all these different people, and they get attacked by the other flesh, by the world, and playing you, or they get attacked by themselves, do they not? God, am I doing right by you? Am I doing right by you? But they're talking to the serpent. And pain you will give birth. You will desire to control who I am, but I will rule over you. And the man, he said, to the prophet, he said, because who brings this stuff? What's the fire that's hitting the stone that's surrounding us? Whose fruit? So you guys will notice I said read the prophets and the 4 horsemen and all that. You notice how they're called the fire and the 4 horsemen? Okay. What are they burning? What are they doing if you make this physical? It's supposed to. So all the prophets said Israel is evil. I'm going to just put that out there. All the prophets said Israel is who I'm not, and one day I will burn them off with fervor and heat. My fire doesn't consume. So what's that telling you? Mock them and consume them with fire and destroy Babylon? I'm basically telling you religion is a lie. And that's the curse that's been cursing us since the beginning. The ground is cursed. So I'm not saying what I create in my heart that isn't against the stones or the trees or whatever you want to call it, because the stone is there for protection. But the two trees at the end, consider those paradise. Because if who I am conforms to those, and then the whole world listens, it's perfection. But am I saying that's what you have to do and I'm going to strike you? Think of me as a blotch test in psychology. What you do is what you're going to give yourself over to. I hear people all the time saying things will never change. It'll never change. It'll be the same. It's so sad. What you're doing is, what I am doing is, when I say that, with my active energy, with who I am perpetuating that, living it out, and then professing that. The flesh is cursed because of you. All your life, you will struggle to scratch a living from it. So now, if you listen to the prophets literally, they will burn you alive if you don't have who I am in your heart and the stone. What do people do all the time? I'm going to even give you an example. Jesus. Okay, we'll say Jesus is the way and the light and all that. Now, what are people doing because of Jesus? Look at all these mega churches. Look at all the wars and destruction, 30 years war, crusades, and everything else that has happened since they started worshiping a man and putting a man before who I am. It will grow thorns and thistles for you. So the bread has thorns and thistles. Dude, that sounds violent. Would you like to eat thorns? No. If anybody makes people eat thorns in the future, you're of who I'm not. And if you do that to perpetuate some type of image of, oh, I'm the devil, you're just psychotic. Lock that. Though I need not strike the spirit. Though you will eat of its grains, by the sweat of your brow, you will have food to eat. So they are producing fruits from the flesh that they are working on. They were kicked out of the garden, right? So no man is God now, right? Now there's pagan God names there, but they're still working on behalf of the God. Know you not that these men were gods in their day? Go look up what happened when Moses walked through the lands of the Midianites and the tents and all that. Go look up what happened when Peter was walking around with the Catholics. Go look up what happened. Did John the Baptist himself not say that people were flooding him and walking all around him and stuff, or the people that testified on his behalf? So these people were gods back in the day. Food to eat. When you return to the ground, until you return to the ground from which you were made. So in the beginning, I created the heaven and earth and all this stuff. People's words get inside, and I create the prophets that walk the earth. Does that make sense? From which you were made. And the prophets brought this in the first place. All of them. Anybody that's in this book, anybody that wrote anything. But I am not here to judge or destroy people. I am simply giving you the name and the stone, and the two trees at the end and the stream. Then a man, Adam, named his wife Eve. So a prophet named his flesh Eve, because she would be the mother of all to live. So you see how I named myself Yehanan. You know, once the spirit gets a hold, it's named certain things. And this dude names himself Eve. But I am the dead letter, so do what you will. Because this prophet will be the one to birth everything that came afterwards. And I had made clothing from the wild animals for the prophet and his people after him. So you see, this is like a perpetual game, if you will. So if I were to say Adam lived for 950 years, understand I'm talking spiritual now, because if I then divided by 12, because they used to go that by the lunar calendar, that would be 79 years. Then I said, look at human beings have become like us, knowing both good and evil. What if they reach out and take fruit from the tree of life and eat it? Then they will live forever. So I banished them from the garden, and I sent Adam out to cultivate the ground which had been made. After sending them out, I had stationed a mighty cherubim to the east of the garden, Moses and placed a flaming sword that flashed back and forth to guard the way of the tree of life, Jesus. And so I'm just going to leave that right there for now. But in actuality, the mighty Moses, let me explain. So I said, what I meant to say was Aaron and Peter, but the truth of the matter is because the truth is it's Moses with the 10 Commandments, and then it's the love and forgiveness from John the Baptist. But if you would like to think of it as the prophets, go ahead. But what I will tell you is, if you're going to read the prophets and the four horsemen, I really suggest, after reading that, you read John the Baptist and then the red words in the New Testament. If you read the red words in the New Testament, please, anywhere you read the words God, say I am, or spirit of mine, or who I am, or whatever, children of mine. And when you see Jesus, say the Holy Spirit, my Holy Spirit, Spirit, the Lamb, Holy Spirit, whatever. Because I am who I am sent me with the stone is the Holy Spirit. I'm trying to tell you all.